Okay, we continue our lesson.
As we examine opportunity identification, we want to recognize that opportunities become real when you have a solution that leverages your advantages to solve an important problem for others. In this context, we want to think about the approaches and tools that we've examined on how to identify and act on opportunities, and begin to apply that and apply our ideas to defining a problem, crafting a competitive solution, building our advantage, and forming the right team. So is the problem real? Well, how do you know that? Well, it starts by understanding who is your customer. Why do they need your product? What benefits will they gain? As well as can they make money or save money with your product? Now, the last element, or make or save money, is typically more oriented towards if you're selling to businesses, but it might be oriented towards individual consumers as well. We also want to think about how many people out there experience the problem. You might have a wonderful solution, but if there are only 10 people that want it, you're probably not going to be able to build a business based on that. We want to think about other people that experience the problem. How many of them are going to be buyers? It's not one for one. Many of us may experience a problem, but we're not willing to spend money to solve it. We also want to think about, are there enough people who care about the problem and will pay for a solution that we can be successful with that as a company? Now, if we're Ferrari or Rolls-Royce, maybe we only need 2,000 customers a year. But if we are Wikipedia, we need 10 million. So in that way, it really depends on the product category that you're in to define how much is enough. If you generate a lot of money per customer, you may need fewer. If you generate little money per customer, you may need more. The other element to consider is, does the solution create value for your stakeholders? What are the fundamentals that you're delivering? And do customers care? And this requires a real understanding of their perception of value and what matters to them. They're focused on value and not specifications. So the features and the functions and the technologies are simply the tool or the enabler of the value that the customer is realizing. So recognize that and think about the value that you're delivering. What is the true benefit that customers receive from your product or service? We also want to talk with prospective customers very early, before you build a product. This gives you insights on what features matter, what values matter, what would they be willing to pay for that. You don't want to build a 10-feature product that's $100 if customers want to pay $10 and only really care about 3 features. So in that way, we want to talk with customers early and get their insights and validation of the solution that you have in mind before you build it. We also want to recognize, is our advantage superior, meaning better than what's out there, and sustainable, meaning that we can sustain competition that may come. So the degree of the advantage and the sustainability of the advantage truly matter to our success. By degree, are we lower price? Are we rare? Are we better in other ways? By sustainability, are we easily copied? Are there existing competitors that can replicate what we're doing? Are there new competitors that may mimic what we're doing? So we want to think about both of those elements as well and what entry barriers we may be able to create. Perhaps it's a patent, perhaps it's exclusivity, perhaps it's a brand we can build, perhaps we think we can just outrun competitors on features by having a head start. But we want to be aware that competitors aren't just going to sit still. Competitors aren't just going to sit back and say, oh, well, isn't that a nice product? I'm going to let them run me out of business. They're going to compete. They're going to adapt. They may mimic. They may leapfrog. There are a variety of things they may do that you want to be aware of and you want to anticipate. Building the team, incredibly valuable to launching a company. You don't necessarily just build a team with people that you're friends with or that may be family. Now, your friend might be the perfect team member. Your family might be the perfect team member, but you need to ask questions beyond that. What are their motivations? Are they committed? How realistic is their view about the risk and rewards of your venture? Do they have complementary skills? Do they know things that you don't? What's their reputation? What's their experience? What's their education? Are they accomplished? Who else needs to be on the team if you bring them on? So in that way, we want to think about the person, the skills, the experience, the advantage that they're bringing, in addition to any relationships that you may have with them already. So in summary, we want to recognize the evidence of the problem. Don't be pulled into starting a company or launching a product just based on some assumption you have. Think about evidence. We also want to think about customer value and make sure that we're solving a solution that someone cares about. We also want to think about how we can be sustainable. It's a shame to start something and be successful for a day just to have someone copy it tomorrow and not be able to do anything about it. So in that way, think ahead. Think about what's going to happen in the marketplace once I get there. What might competitors, be they existing or new, do? And what might I do thereafter? So in that way, it's a game of checkers for some, but if you're playing chess, you're thinking a few steps ahead. And then lastly, think about the team. Think about who may your co-founders be, who other management team members may be. Can you develop a board of advisors, people with perhaps more experience or more expertise or relationships, or even people that might be an advisor and an investor that you can connect with? And by doing those, we can better identify and act on our opportunities.
Okay, the last video.
In today's discussion, we're going to introduce the concept of business models and what you can do to really explore and consider the business models that give you the greatest opportunity to bring your idea into action. What we mean by business models is some way of describing the rationale of how the organization creates, delivers, and captures value. So fundamentally, it's how does the business work? There are many different types of business models. You may have a model by which you're selling a product. You may sell a service. It may be a subscription. You may license. It may be an advertising model. Or it may be a hybrid that includes all of the above or some combination of the above. So there are many different opportunities to perhaps solve a problem, and there are many different opportunities to really construct the business model by which you're going to bring your idea to action. When you look at products, a couple of benefits are that it's well defined. It is well scoped. I am selling you this, and it does what it does, and its features are its features. What happens if you want this in purple?
Do they make it in purple?
If it's not available in purple, you either take it as is or you go without. If you want your buttons to be squares instead of ovals, you have to decide, is that important enough to you to buy it or not buy it? So it is easily scoped, easily defined. I know what the costs are. Relatively easy to price as a product. The risk of it is that it is what it is. So in that way, that's kind of a pro and a con. I can't really change it. I can't adapt it, not easily. I have to develop another version. I need significant sales. I need distribution. I need manufacturing. I may have some issue of product liability. So with this laser, we're looking at the laser. You put your hand up. Why are you putting your hand up? You don't want the laser to hit you in the eye. Is it going to hurt you?
No.
No. Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a daredevil.
Do it.
But it's not going to hurt you, but it just doesn't feel like something you want to be done for most of us. I'll let you use it after class on yourself if you want to, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And there's a level of reasonability. We don't need to necessarily have a label on here that says do not stare into beam, but you can't see it, but there is a label on here that says do not stare into beam. Class 2 laser product. You still want it? Oh no, you don't want it now.
I'll do it. I'm ready.
So in that way, there's some level of liability you have to be aware of. Now it doesn't say do not consume, not for human consumption. So there's a reasonability of what do we warn people about and what do we not warn them about. But if you look at products such as plastic fruit, people seen plastic fruit before? Your plastic lemon and your plastic grapes. Where have you seen such things? On displays in stores. So in that way, some people buy them and put them in their house, like fake flowers, you have fake fruit in the bowl. Why do they perhaps label these things? And maybe it's not on every grape, but if you buy it and there's a price tag, there's probably another little tag on it with the brand, and it probably has some warnings on there.
Because it looks like real food, so
Okay.
not be able to distinguish.
It's reasonable that someone could mistakenly consume it.
Somewhere here.
Maybe an adult, maybe a child. You're not exactly sure, but in that way, again, product liability is something to be aware of when you're developing products, and we want to get smart on what should I do, what are the norms in the industry, what's reasonable for me to do. Now, also with products, we have the opportunity to be standard or to be customized. With many vehicles, it is pseudo-standard.
These pseudo standards.
We have 5 colors you can choose from for the exterior. We have 4 colors you can choose from for the interior. You can add navigation, you can add spoilers, you can get different engine size, different wheel size, manual or automatic transmission. So there are a variety of things you can do. Now, there may be a price incentive to buy something that's already been manufactured, but there's still the option of having something that is in some fashion made to your specifications. For most automotives. There are some automotives that you don't just say, I want the gray interior, but I would like to get black seats. I want to have the piping, which is the edge of the seats, done in red. I'd like to get the roof done in yellow. I want a purple dashboard. The floor mats I want to be white.
Ugly.
And if you buy a Maserati, you have the options of picking all of those out.
Really? Each one custom made? Yep.
They are pseudo-custom made. Now, if I want a pink dashboard, I don't know that they offer pink. But they do offer probably a dozen colors to choose from. So it's not absolutely custom, but what's the con of that level of customization for most consumers? Price. And that's $110,000. That's $240,000. So you pay for that. But the alternative is, well, if you're going to charge me what a house costs to buy a car, I should be able to pick out exactly what I want. So think about that too. There are products, but there's standardization, there's customization to think about as well. There's also the element of one-time sales. What do people buy every 20 years?
Mortgage.
A house. And the norm, I think, is actually closer to 7 or 8 because of relocating and moving and things of that nature, or going up into bigger homes or contracting into smaller. But it's still something you buy new. A new home is sold typically to one person for what's probably 30 or 40 or 50 years. Now, it may change hands after that. Cars, 7-year life, 8-year life, not uncommon. But something, and those again, typically one-time sales means you're going to sell that product to that customer probably once. And they're either not going to buy it again, or it's going to be a number of years. It's a washing machine that's going to last 8 years. It's a refrigerator that's going to last 10 years. So it's long, useful life. Other things are very quickly consumed. What's consumed in 10 minutes? Food. So that's why a lot of entrepreneurs go into the food business, because it's not like you're going to buy your burrito and eat that, you're good for 6 years. So in that way, there is an element of, again, useful life to think about, and repeat sales and repeat customers to think about. So even products are not a one-size-fits-all. There's the element, again, of customization, standard, one-time, useful, features, functions, adaptability, all of those things you think about. And also the pricing models you think about. So in the razor market, there are a few players. There's Gillette, there's Schick, there's, I think the Mach 3 is a Gillette product. There are a couple of others in that market. How do they make money in the razor market?
Blades. Yeah, custom blades.
How else do they make money?
Trains and drills.
Okay. What's the basic? Where do you start with?
Actual laser.
The razor. So you buy a razor, and you may buy a razor for $7, $8, $12, depending the brand. So this $8 offering blade, roughly $3 each. What's the useful life of the razor? $8 item.
Very long. Longer than the blade.
What's the useful life of this that has a replaceable blade on it? Typically months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. It's a piece of plastic. Maybe there's some metal in it, but it doesn't really wear out that frequently. often do people change the blade?
Very.
Well, it depends on the person. If you're an adult, just kidding. Most folks, you're at about a week. 5 to 7 days is the norm. So 5 to 7 days. So where do they make their money? On the blades. So they're going to sell you a razor for $8. And that's largely a useful life for probably a year. But they're going to sell you a blade every week for $3. And this is a highly profitable model, so much so that in a lot of business schools and MBA programs, they talk about this as a razor and blades model for bringing products to market. So in that way, what you see is even with a product, you might have some level of combinations of products. What's the other way you see this manifest itself in technology? Printers and printer ink or printer toners. And you buy printers these days, $50, but the ink refills are 8, 10, 12 per color, and if you need 3 or 4 colors, adds up. So you may, in short time, within a couple of months, you're spending more on the refills, on the inks and the toners and things like that, than you did on the box itself, on the device itself. And that's by design. Most people go in and they look at what when they are going to purchase their printer.
Cartridge life.
No.
Oh, the opposite.
Price.
What are the features and the functions of the printer, and what does the printer cost? And if it costs $30, $40, $50, I may like that. And then I later learned that the cartridges are where I'm spending all my money. So in that way, too, you have these product models that they're companion pieces.
Similar to phones, like phones are expensive. But
Phones are a combination of kind of that product and service, but you are getting your $600 iPhone 5 for $100, I think it is now, because Verizon is subsidizing the rest of the money paid to Apple, because you're going to pay Verizon $50 a month or whatever it is for that phone. And it's also a factor of how they do the pricing. Just so we have real numbers, anybody had a phone recently with a data plan? Okay. What kind of phone? iPhone 5. You remember what you paid?
$600.
Well, you bought the phone outright. Okay, I'm looking for a different model. 200 iPhone 5. And do you know what your monthly is?
The data is
30 for the data.
Text is 10.
Text is 10. What about the voice?
Like a family thing.
Family plan. So you're in on a family plan. So you're probably near 200 for the phone, 50 per month for everything else. 2-year contract?
Yeah.
What's 50 times 24? $1,200. $1,400 when you add the price of the phone. So if I said, here you go, it's $1,400. You paying me? Probably not. So we're paying it essentially on an installment plan, a subscription plan, product, but there's a service element. And so in that sense, again, there are different variants of this, but as you think about ideas you have how to enter markets, even with products, it might be a single-use product, a single-sell product, it might be a reusable product, it might be a little bit of both. And a little bit of both tends to be the more profitable route. So switching gears into services, what can you do with a service that you can't do as well with a product? You can sell it more than once. What else can you do with a service?
It's slightly easier to change.
You can modify it. So in that way, it's highly flexible to customer needs. So in that way, if you are talking with someone, and perhaps they want you to build a website, and they say, I want something that does this and that, and click here and this happens, and click here and that happens, and you can say, all right, I can do that, that's $1,000. You know what it is, you know what it's supposed to do. Particularly if you've done it before, you know about how long it should take you to do it. But then if they say, well, can you add this, that, and the other? Can you? Probably. And if you don't know how, you can probably find somebody else that does know how. Do they still get that for $1,000? Probably not. They've just added something that's going to take you more time to do, and added something that's going to add more value to them or to their ultimate customer, so they would probably be willing to pay more. So the price changes. And so that's the element, again, with service, that you can adapt and model and change and modify, and you can do it in a real-time way. Or you can have it online, where depending on what people want, we have our bronze and silver and gold, and this one has this many features in the next one, and that one has next many in the next one. And so in that way, people kind of pick the package or pick the combination that suits their needs at the price that they want to pay. Now, there's some risk in it, and it can be a little bit too flexible, depending on how comfortable you are in working and dealing and kind of managing customers. It can be a bit difficult to price. Also, with services, there's not often anything to protect from an intellectual property standpoint, aside from perhaps trademarking the name of the company or the name of your service, meaning that you don't patent a service. So perhaps easy to copy, depending on what it is that you're doing. So third model, we're talking about subscription and licensing. And with subscriptions, what we're talking about are the cell phone monthly, the cable monthly, other online services.
Oh, it's Squarespace?
Squarespace. So anything that's a monthly service, particularly online, particularly if you get a discount or otherwise motivated to sign up for a year or 2-year, it's a subscription model. Customers pay some regular recurring price to use that service. Licensing is similar to that, but licensing comes in where you're licensing a concept or a technology for others to commercialize and use. So Spotify is one in this area that has an interesting model of free. You can listen to all the music you want, streaming, on your laptop, PC, for free. Not phone, not for free. So, and we'll get to the phone piece, but we will let you consume music free and instantly, but we're going to limit it to your laptop or PC, and we're going to serve up advertising between songs with some frequency, and that's a free offering. We have a secondary offering that's $5 a month, ad-free, but still only with the desktop or laptop. So here, desktop, laptop with ad. Here, still desktop, laptop, but no ad, $5 a month. So you're paying $5 to take away the advertising. And we have a third option that's $10 a month. That's no ad, so same as this one. But we're going to do not only laptop and desktop, as you were already doing, but we're going to add mobile and tablet and ad-free as well.
Download. You don't have to be online.
And the element, too, and that's a good point, add as well, that you can download, meaning that you can build your playlist and whatnot, and you can download and save that, so that if you're not in Wi-Fi, that's fine. So you can listen to it. Airplanes, you can listen to it in areas that you may not have good coverage. What else does that do?
What?
What's the other benefit of being able to download?
You don't have to spend money on iTunes.
You don't have to spend money on iTunes. What else don't you have to spend money on? You say internet, but essentially, if you do have any kind of data plans that have constraints or limits, which most do, that issue goes away. Because if you are at all planful, you can decide what do you want to download to your local device, to your mobile device. And you can have, at the playlist level or at the song level, some things that have downloaded and other things that you save that you're going to stream. So you don't have to take up all of your memory here if there's just a couple of things that you want to have downloaded. So a lot of flexibility of going from laptop PC with ad to laptop PC no ad to laptop PC, tablet, phone, no ad, downloadable, no data fees. And it's a $0, $5, and $10 price point. So if you were in the market and if you were to choose one and pay for one, how many folks would go free? Okay, and a lot of you probably already use this. Okay, how many folks would go to 5? Okay, how many folks would go 10? So for you all, based on our assessment here,
I would go 10.
for our audience here, we are 100%. What's that tell me about a college audience? Oh, cheap. That's not news. Who's their market for this? So this is what I have. So why am I willing to pay them $10? I'm rich, right? So I've decided that for me, 10 is worth it. How do you think I use it? On my phone. So in that way, I value being able to have it on my phone and something I can travel with, something I can plug in car, airplane, etc. So I like the phone benefit. Now the ad piece, it's nice not to have ads. The download piece, that's okay too. But for me, it's the phone element that adds a lot of value.
For like this website or whatever, do you pick the songs like on iTunes? Or
Yeah, you pick the song. So it's not the Pandora where they try and find something you like. You physically go in and say, I want to listen to this artist, this song, this album. I build my playlist. So you pick exactly what you want. And that's true for any of the 3 models.
They also had like kind of like this thing going around where like Spotify Premium, like allowed it to a friend, and they read it, and you get a month free.
Yep. So they do different incentives where as you make referrals and references and your friends sign up, you may get some promo or some couponing and such.
Do you spend or do you buy more than 100 songs a year?
I haven't bought a song in 10 years. No, it's not. So in that way, I listen to what's on the radio. CNBC has some great programming. ESPN does very well. Not a big NPR fan, but they do well too. So again, I am not a big music listener, but when I do, this is what I like.
How much do radio companies give you a lot of money?
A lot of, well, it depends. It depends. A lot of them are owned collectively by larger organizations. But the orientation here is that there are 3 different models, and with Spotify, what's common across these 3? What's common about the 3 models? What do you think? What's common about the 3 models?
That they're all still offering you some sort of music plan.
Okay, there's value to the customer. What is Spotify generating in all 3? They make money on all 3. $10 a month, they make money. $5 a month, they make money. Advertising, they make money from the advertiser. So they have a model at 3 different tiers, but all of them are profitable for them.
Now, what if people just like, all right, I don't feel like paying for it, and everyone just starts using it for free? How do they still advertise?
Advertising. So they built 3 models, and I don't know the percentages, but I would certainly think if you were to do some kind of a pie chart, that the bulk of people are in the free camp. Some people are in the 5, and then a smaller number are in the 10. So in that way, that's how you see most things shake out. And that if there's a free option, there's just going to be a lot of people that offer that. And that, again, arguably, might be 80% of the total. And you're going to see a subset that are going to step it up and do the in-between 5, and then you're going to have a few people that spend on that premium offering. So again, it's not always 80, 12, 8. For some markets, it might be 90, 9, and 1. Well, for other markets, it might be 50, 30, and 20. So it kind of depends on the value and the price points. But the norm is typically that a lot of people will go free, and they recognize that. And they've done their homework to know what level of advertising, with what frequency of advertising do we need to show to make the math work on the financial side. Now, subscription and licensing, we've mentioned. And the difference is that if you're going to license a product, typically you have some level of a prototype or at least a well-developed plan for how it's going to work, based on your research, you are going to license that to a larger firm, and they are going to commercialize that. And you get a share. You might get 3%. You might get 5% of their sales. If you're going the venture route, if you're going to start the company, that means you're going to keep that idea, and you're going to build that company. And you're going to do all of the R&D, and you're going to do all of the operations, and you're going to do all of the marketing, and you're going to bring that product to market, and you're going to service the customer, and you're going to keep 100% of the revenues and 100% of the profits. Why would somebody not do that? Why would somebody want to go a route where they're only going to get 5% of the sales?
More risk.
There is dramatically more risk with going the venture route. There's dramatically more expense.
Sometimes it's not feasible to make a product. Like if you make like a device that goes inside a car,
Okay.
you might want to sell it to the car company
Yep.
as a licensing rather than try and sell the small product which a consumer would buy and put it into.
Okay. So in that way, it just might depend on the nature of the business and the nature of competition in that business. And you might rather license to somebody that already has the know-how and the relationships to bring it to market and the money to make it happen. But it depends on, again, where you are, but licensing makes a lot of sense for many. For advertising, again, web advertising is typically what we think about, but the predominant form of advertising pre-web was TV, and before TV was radio, and before radio was newspaper. So in that way, advertising happens in a lot of ways. But the orientation is that we're going to provide some level of content, often free, but not always. You pay for the newspaper, but it has advertising. You pay for cable channels, but those cable channels still have advertising. So in that way, it doesn't always replace payment, but it always supplements it. And in that way, it may be a major or perhaps an only source of revenue for the producers or the broadcasters. And if you develop a website and you are using advertising, you are essentially the broadcaster or the producer. You typically need a lot of customers. So we had one of our student companies that was doing $100,000 a month in revenue. So 100,000
Hey, does company still exist?
per month in revenue.
I imagine.
What's your profitability on a website that serves as a discussion board platform? What are your costs?
Well, making the website very little.
Very little. His cost, $2,000. Not including how he valued his time. What's your profit?
98.
A lot. $98,000 a month as a 19-year-old.
Wait, what's this website company called?
They want to know as a you, Scott.
Yeah, I thought it was you.
This is a much more basic product than what Scott's built.
Wait, but who's?
It's a discussion board platform. Since I'm telling you their revenues, I don't want to tell you their name. But they're probably not, they're a well-known name in their space, but it's a one-person company.
Oh, come on. I have a toss. You told us I want to go visit this website.
But the lesson
What?
is you need a lot of users to generate this level of revenue.
Give us the name.
What's a lot of users? Millions. How many millions? Tens of millions. So by the time he got to the point that he was doing this level of revenue, he was serving 32 million people per month.
I've probably heard of this.
32 million people per month. Not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do. But recognize that even 32 million only brings you 100,000. And we say only because if he had 10 employees, his profitability would probably go to near zero. Because with employees, if you're spending 60, 70, 80,000 per employee, and if you're providing some level of help or benefits, if you're providing a space for them to work in, and you're paying rent, and there's furnishings and fixtures and utilities and other costs associated with that. So it was the type of business that he could run by himself and do very well by himself, as long as he was able to grow that user base to a dramatically high volume. Now, hybrids come into fashion when you're looking at combining things. So with hybrids, what we're looking at are things like the retailers that sell a device and a subscription. They're going to provide warranties on products they sell. I'm a movie theater, but I'm selling $6 drinks and $4 candy in addition to the movie. So they are combining revenue streams. So that might be an opportunity for you as well. Best Buy sells many things. What do you see that addresses what their business models are? What can you point out? Yep.
It says services and solutions.
Services and solutions. What services and solutions do you see? Okay, Geek Squad. We're going to do an element of repair on your laptop that's not working. Bring it in, we'll fix it. What else do they sell? What's the obvious thing? They sell products. Yep.
Does Geek Squad also go to your house?
They do have home install opportunities. So we're going to come to your house and install things, or you come to the store and we fix things. How else are they generating revenues? Beyond products, beyond repair, and beyond install. Yep. Credit cards. So you finance, you have your 6, 9, 12% finance fees. They get a share of that. What else?
Interest. I suppose it would do
The interest is tied more to the credit cards. How else are they generating revenues? Yep. Gift cards kind of sits between a product and a service, perhaps. It's you're kind of paying for a financial product, but you're not going to use it for a while. And what sometimes happens with gift cards, they get lost. People don't use them. Depending on the company, they may expire. So again, it's a different model a bit. But we see, again, they do things above and beyond just product. So in summary, when you think about business models, this is really the key plan and really the architecture for how the company is going to work. And thereby the selection of which business models you're going to pursue is going to shape the entire plan and shape the entire company. If you sell a product, there's a question of pricing. There's a question of will the customers keep buying? There's a question of how am I going to market that effectively? There's also the question of profitability and what's a business model that is going to result in the maximum long-term profitability and or the maximum long-term benefits or values that I'm trying to deliver for my firm. What we also want to question with business models is the concept of recurring revenue. If you're going to sell a one-time product, then that may be a one-time sale. If you have a subscription model, will people pay monthly? Are there other variants or other offerings of that, such as advertising, that while the individual revenues generated per person may be dramatically less for advertising than if you were actually to sell them a product, are you going to reach more people overall? And thereby the total revenue for the organization might be greater than the revenue if you pursued advertising instead of if you sold a product. Or is the reverse true? Is the product sales, albeit higher per person, than the advertising, going to be a more sustainable and a more profitable model long term? So there's no single right answer. There's no magic business model. There's no one way to do it. But by this understanding that we've had today, hopefully it's given you some insight on what are the options that are out there, what are some tools and what are some approaches that have proven effectively for others, and what's the right business model for you to try and pursue with your venture.
Okay, so we still have slide. Yes, fine. If you want to see some slide, you can see here. Customer analysis, research and evaluation. Yes, we will do it next time. To understand how to do new functional innovation with medical research and publicity. Something work in Shan. Then we can read more like we did last time. The master. Okay, so we have this one to do. Well, next time. Thank you.